It wasn't that much importance, Salah. You want me to, sing it there?
I'm just saying. He scored a goal.
Portugal then 5-1 winners.
I don't know that you're in a position to diminish the importance of a goal or not.
Cristiano Ronaldo there with a brace in the second half. For more on this one, we welcome in our good friend and colleague, Julian Laurent. Jules, how about Ronaldo turning back the clock at 39 years of age?
Pretty impressive, that overhead kick, wasn't it? I mean, they scored 4 goals in 15 minutes, Portugal, towards the end. I think Vitinha coming on at half-time changed a lot of the dynamic of that team. The first half under the rain was pretty average, I thought. Much better in the second half, of course, after the Rafael Leao scored and his goal. And Xhaka just said, playing great football at the moment. We saw that with AC Milan, especially at the Bernabeu, but then also in the league. Back to his best, clearly. Even defending tonight, I think his numbers defensively in terms of recoveries, duels won, are pretty impressive for somebody that usually doesn't defend too much. So overall, that second half, I think, is very positive for Roberto Martinez and Cristiano. Not so much the first half.
How impressed should we be by this, Salah?
Well, this is typical Portugal against what I think it's inferior opposition. And I must say, Poland had a couple of chances in the first half. Obviously, they did not put those chances away. And then I think that goes into the narrative that Jules was mentioning there, that in the first half, Portugal wasn't all that great. But in that period of about 10, 15 minutes in the second half, it was great separation between one level, sort of team elite level in Portugal, and then Poland that is not quite there. And what we saw is them at their very best. And when they're at their very best, then you have guys like Rafael Leao with those sort of runs, which I think make this team exponentially more dangerous. If this is the version of Rafael Leao that you can get consistently, and that's something that is a question for him on a weekly basis in his club team at Milan, can you get this version of Rafael Leao? And if you do, it frees everything up that they can do in transition, because now Ronaldo doesn't have to do the running in transition. He can just be a presence inside the 18-yard box. He can be a supporting player inside the 18-yard box, whereas Leao is the one that is doing most of the running. I think when you look at Portugal, there is a potential for greatness here. But tough decisions are going to need to be made. And one of those tough decisions is going to have to be what is the role of Cristiano Ronaldo, and whether we feel like the manager Martinez is going to be able to make those sort of decisions. The last thing I would say is, they're players that Jules has soft spots for. Vitinha is one of those guys. There is never
Where does
a
he
day.
play? Where does he play?
Oh, well, PSG. There's never a day in which Vitinha is on the field, whether it is for PSG or Portugal, and Jules is on, that Vitinha is not highlighted. He loves some Vitinha, and rightfully so, because I do think that he changes the look of this team through the midfield.
Xhaka, talking about Ronaldo today, does it obviously help his case, but how much for a starting role in 2026? Because that's really the debate we have around this team, right?
I don't think Ronaldo should start for Portugal. I didn't think since 2022. And you saw it happen during the World Cup, where he's left off and becomes a bit part player. The challenge is, to Ali's point, does Roberto Martinez have that presence to say, Cristiano, I'm going with somebody else today? I don't think so. We were kind of chuckling at a free kick that Ronaldo took in the first half. Nobody has the presence to tell Ronaldo, listen, you need to step away from free kicks. Never mind step away from the pitch. And we all see the numbers with Ronaldo from set pieces. They aren't great, but still, he is the man that, for some reason, Portugal goes to, even with the presence of far better, certainly statistically, takers on the park. I just don't see it. And while it's a difficult day to kind of say that, given that Ronaldo scored 2 and had an assist at the very least, it just, against better opposition, I think I'd prefer another option.
Didn't hold him back today.
Not at all. And it's very easy to say he should step away, but when you have players like Rafael Leao, you got Bruno Fernandes there, you got players who are doing the running for you, as Ali said, and you can kind of be that central player in the box, and you're very good at being that central player in the box. Why should you step away? You're the all-time leading goal scorer in world football right now. You're just come off a game where you scored 2 goals against Poland. If I'm Ronaldo right now, I'm thinking in my head,
yeah, but this isn't really a conversation about Ronaldo. This is a conversation about the team.
Yeah, if I'm Ronaldo right now, I'm thinking, can we play Poland every week?
Well, all right. Well, the question is, who's going to be the guy to tell him? Who's going to be the one to say, you're done. Because it doesn't look like Roberto Martinez is going to be that person. So
Sebi's the man.
Sebi's the man. So until that happens,
I got enough enemies in the YouTube comments for now. I don't need you.
Cristiano Ronaldo is going to keep doing what he does. And as long as he's putting goals in the back of that, that's the only thing you can do as an offensive player to prove you belong on the field, whether people like it or not.
But what we're talking about, the standard for Portugal, and this group of players and this generation of players and the talent that they have available, we're thinking World Cup champions, Portugal. And in order for that to happen, they are going to advance through stages in the competition in which they will play against much better opposition than Portugal and some of the other opposition that Portugal plays in these European competitions. Once they reach that level, I'm talking about quarterfinals on, we're talking about a different level of play and a different level of what's required and demanded from this team in order for them to advance and to win the World Cup champion trophy, which is what we think this team is capable of. That higher level of opposition provides you with different threats, provides you with different challenges, presents you with different challenges, and Roberto Martinez has to then make a decision as to how am I going to press the ball, how am I going to defend, how am I going to set my team up in order to be able to regain possession of the ball higher up the field and dictate how this game is going to be played if the guy who's leading my line doesn't have the legs to be able to do that consistently. And it limits the way that they play the game. It doesn't show up against Poland, but it'll show up against, say, for example, France. Or it'll show up against Spain. Or it'll show up against maybe Brazil, maybe Argentina. That's Germany. These are the things that we're talking about here. And so Poland is not the standard. If Portugal were to play against Poland and some of this level of opposition from here until eternity, then Cristiano Ronaldo should be on the field forever. But if the standard is winning the World Cup, I think these are where the tough decisions are going to need to be made.
Let's move on to another player. Bruno Fernandes with an absolute golazo today in this one. Jules, everybody's noting that Bruno Fernandes has kind of stepped up his productivity ever since Erik ten Hag was sacked. What do we make of his performances, both for Manchester United and with Portugal, and what it says about maybe how he's feeling now that there's somebody new in charge at United?
I mean, there's no doubt that Ruben Amorim coming to the club is a massive boost for Bruno Fernandes, simply for the sporting link and the Portuguese link between the two. You can imagine that he would be the leader as well, already as a club captain, but even more with Ruben Amorim on the bench. For Ten Hag, I'm not sure if it's Ten Hag leaving or, you know, I just think that the start of the season has been pretty average from Manchester United point of view, and within that kind of chaos and average level, really, then there was Bruno, and I think Bruno also needs a good team, a good functioning team around him to be able to be the player that he is, to be able to be that passer, the creator, also being able to finish, to play with freedom in his mind, but also freedom on the pitch, which there was never really under Erik ten Hag. I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy changed that a little bit. There was certainly more fluidity in the game, but they also played, apart from the Chelsea game, the rest of the teams were not that good, really. They played Leicester twice, for example. So let's wait and see what Ruben Amorim does, in what formation, how do they play, where does Bruno play, a bit deeper, a bit higher up, who's around him. But I have no doubt that there will be a massive boost from Amorim's arrival that are going to benefit massively Bruno Fernandes.
Shaka, we did a segment for Digital earlier today about Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes ranked as their most important player. They definitely need the Bruno that we saw today for Portugal, because there's not much else there right now.
No, there's not. And they've needed this version of Bruno Fernandes for quite some time. He hasn't shown up every single time, in all honesty. But what we're seeing, certainly of late, is a huge step in the right direction. There's no questioning Bruno Fernandes' talent. We can question maybe his leadership, which Manchester United have lacked. But this form, this Bruno Fernandes that we're seeing, absolutely is a plus for Amorim. But he needs to keep it up. And he needs to, again, add some of those other bits to it, leadership, that United need in terms of just being a better team.
That inconsistency that you're talking about, Shaq, is actually in his messaging as well. Because when Ten Hag was sacked, wasn't Bruno Fernandes that came out and said, well, you know, Spoke to the manager, feel really sorry for him. Wait. You were on the field. You could have done something about it. Your performances could have been far more consistent. Your leadership could have been far more consistent than what it was. And now the guy's at the door and you feel bad. But this is how bad you feel. The other guy comes in, Ruben Nistelrooy has been there, and now you're scoring goals left and right. That's how bad you feel about Ten Hag being gone. Get out of here.
Bruno Fernandes with the goal today as Portugal beat Poland